Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Rowland. I am the founder, president, and CEO of the Pente Company. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to attend the first ever HOA webinar. Today's webinar is going to briefly touch on some of the founding and key concepts of the Pente Company, what we do, and the services that we provide. We're going to try and give a 15-minute presentation, after which we will have another 15 minutes for questions and answers. I have a few pre-submitted questions that I will be answering at the end of the presentation, but feel free to submit your questions as we're going through, just so that we can make sure that we cover everything and all your questions do get asked. So, getting right into it, the first thing I want to discuss or present is the concept of our franchise fees and exactly how affordable they are. It is a common misconception that franchises have to be expensive, and while it is true that if you purchase something like a McDonald's, Taco Bell, or even a Subway, those do have a rather high one-time franchise fee, of which you might be looking at spending upwards of $100,000. I can tell you that a Midas or a Meineke franchise goes for about $25,000 to $30,000. The reason I bring up those two differences is because there are all kinds of franchises. When I first got into this industry, or looking into franchising, the attorneys that I were interviewing, one in particular, mentioned a franchise that he had been approached about putting the contracts together for, and it was actually a dog walking franchise. Now, at first thought, you wouldn't think that something like that would be a viable business concept, but if it's structured properly and the fees are appropriate, it could very well be a viable franchise. I don't ever think it's going to be a franchise that you are going to spend $15,000, $100,000 for, but if you keep the franchise fees appropriate, then it is a viable business model. And that's basically what we've done. We have structured our franchise fees to make it highly affordable so that it's much easier for you to grow, build, and develop the company than it is to worry about the investment that you have to put into it before you even get started. So what we've done is essentially allowed people to buy most franchise territories for just $1. And that dollar creates a legal binding contract that protects your ownership interests. Beyond that, the only thing you're really responsible for is your monthly royalty fee. We'll get into that a little bit later, but those fees range from $50 on up to $150 or 10%, whichever is greater. But that being said, most territories are going to just run you $1 to have a legal contract, protect your interests. If you're going to look at something like LA or New York, there's a little bit of a difference there because there is a lot more potential business. It's a high value territory, so those are not going to be going for the $1, but most everything else will. You could still pick up something that has some pretty high potential value to it, like Atlanta, for example. That's a territory that we still have open, is very high value potential for it, and you could potentially own it for just $1. So as I said, we just keep those very affordable and make it very easy for individuals or companies to pick up, purchase, own, operate, grow, develop. And the great thing about it is that in 5 to 10 years, as we grow as a system, the value of those territories should grow exponentially. The size of the territory is going to determine the end value of it, as will the amount of business that you do. But either way, you are going to increase from $1 on up to 6 or even 7 figures potentially, depending on the value of or the location of your territory. So affordable is the way for us to go. We're looking to grow and advance versus charge a whole bunch of money for a territory that is within a developing system. So I would expect in 5 or 10 years that none of these territories will go for less than $15,000. So now, as an investment opportunity, is the time to get into it. With that being said, I'm going to move on to the next topic, which within the clauses that, or the contracts that you sign, there are a couple of key clauses that become very important. The first is reciprocity. The second is exclusivity. Exclusivity is very important because we only sell one franchise within a given territory. And if you look at any other advertiser, you're competing against 10, 15, 20 other people, depending on where you're at, for work in that same area. But with us, for a very comparable fee that you might pay to, say, the Yellow Pages or some sort of state organization, or just some online advertiser, or even a paralegal or legal associate website, you might pay a pretty significant fee. But for a very comparable fee for what we pay, or for what we charge, you could own that territory and be the only person in that territory. Now, why is that important? Well, it ties into that other clause, which is the reciprocity clause. And that clause means that every office within our system is required to use the other offices. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have a job and if you're in St. Louis and you have a job to serve in Phoenix, you can't. The Phoenix office can't charge you $1 million to serve that one job. The clause does require them to be very comparable in their prices to what their competition charges. But that being said, you still are required to send that to them. The reason that both of these clauses are important is because not only do you have the reciprocity where we're keeping all of that work in-house, but you don't pay royalties on work that you receive from the other Pente offices. So if you're in St. Louis and you send it to Phoenix, then the Phoenix office doesn't pay a royalty on that work that the St. Louis office sent them. St. Louis office will pay a royalty on the work that they receive from their client, but only if it goes over 10% of their gross. If their 10% of their gross revenue is over their minimum monthly royalty fee under the plan or the package that they buy into. So exclusivity is highly, highly important because you are the only person out there, and you're not competing against 5, 10, 15 other people. And then the reciprocity gives you a certain amount of security. I can't really say guarantee, but a certain amount of security that you're going to get a certain amount of volume. And again, with our royalty fees being anywhere from 50 to 100 or 150 bucks, you only have to do 1 to 3 jobs a month, which if you can't do that much work in a single month, we have to sit down and have a talk about how we can grow your territory. Because that's really a very minimal amount for our franchisees to break even, which again ties back into the whole idea of being very affordable. So those 3 clauses are highly, highly important, and they all kind of tie into the packages that we offer, which, as I've said a couple of times, range from $50 to $100 and $150. Now, there's a couple other packages in there too. For example, the top tier package that we have is what we call our Chairman's Package. That package is for high-value territories like New York or LA, and I mentioned those earlier. Because those territories have such a high potential value to them, they're going to typically be sold for in the 6-figure range. And the reason being is LA and New York, I mean, there's just a huge potential amount of business there. And in 5 or 10 years, you know, those territories should be worth that many times over, if not 7 figures. So the Chairman's Package has a minimum, I think, of $150 a month, but you're going to have that huge buy-in fee. It comes with a lot of other perks where we have a dedicated sales rep. There's marketing materials that come along with it. You have the exclusivity. There's just a whole package that comes into that. Beneath the Chairman's Package, we have what we call the Executive Plus package, and that package is $150 a month minimum. The way the royalty works is it's 150 or 10%, whichever is greater. And in that package, we give you the territory exclusivity. We give you the website. We give you as many email addresses as you need. We set up your own microsite that we can design and develop and set it up however you want, so that just so long as it meets with the same professional image that we try to portray. We also give you a ServeNow reimbursement. We give you a NAPS reimbursement, and we also give you free access to the Serve Manager software through our corporate account. So the idea behind giving the reimbursements is that we basically pay for your advertisements, and that's what ServeNow and NAPS are, National Association of Professional Process Servers. There are 2 ads that are designed to generate you a minimal amount of volume so that you can at least generate enough business so that you are not paying out of pocket for your territories. If you can do 3 jobs a month, 2 ads, make $150 a month at the $50 a job average price range, then you're just not paying out of pocket for these. And in fact, most territories do around 10 jobs a month, 5 to 10, in best case scenario, 10 jobs a month. In which case you're doing $500 a month, and at 150 you made 350. So essentially what happens is we are paying you to own one of our franchises. Now if you stay the course and stick with it and keep your franchise for a number of years, again, that territory is going to be worth a whole lot more. So it creates a situation where it's very affordable to own, very low risk. It just requires a little sweat equity and has a great, huge potential for turning into a very valuable territory that if you decided to sell years later, that could be worth a pretty significant amount of money. So that's the Executive Plus package. But moving on down to the next one, the Executive package is the same thing. The only difference is it's $100 a month, and we do not reimburse you for the Serve Now listing. Same idea, same concept, just a little cheaper to make it a little bit more affordable. The next package down below that is your Manager's package. And under the Manager's package, it's $50 a month. It's designed for people who like the idea but are not quite sold on the fact that we can maybe grow this thing. We've already got 100 offices, so it's really at this juncture not an issue where we're not going to continue to keep growing. So the $50 a month makes it a little bit more affordable for you to buy and continue to develop your territory as we grow the system. The $50 Manager package does upgrade after a year to the Executive package. We get you the software and the NAPS reimbursement at that point. So again, it just makes it a little bit more affordable for you to pick up more packages or more territories at the same time. The last package underneath that is your what we call Phil's List, and it's not really ownership of the territory, but it's for people who like the concept but aren't quite ready to pull the trigger. In those situations, you can go unsecured or just reserved. Reserved means that when we're ready to open up a state, we'll call you and say, we're ready to go. If you want it, it's yours. If you're not ready to go, we move to the next guy on the list. The difference between reserved and secured is under the secured, we will call you if somebody contacts us and says, we want to buy it, we want to buy it right now. It's $25 a month, and we'll give you notification. Under reserved, we don't give you a call. If somebody offers us money, we'll just sell it right then. I see Carrie has asked us a question about the value of the NAPS advertising. Well, the NAPS advertising value is very big. It's huge because not only, like I was mentioning before, not only does it help get the company name out as far as branding goes, but it generates you your first bit of volume. And this is under the Executive and Executive Plus package, something that we pay for. So it's not something, or we reimburse you for it. So, and again, I'm going back to this whole thing where it generates you a minimal amount of volume that turns around and pays for your franchise fees. So for a little sweat equity, you can then own your territory. Doesn't cost you a dime. And if you continue to just put in the work, then in 5 and 10 years, as we grow the system, we develop our sales and marketing department, our sales staff continue to grow, it's huge. So, and that's kind of key going to the sales and marketing department is, you know, we've got, oh, yes, dedicated sales rep, not for the Executive Plus, but for your chairman's package, Gary. Carrie's bringing up the dedicated sales rep. It's not for the Executive Plus, it's the chairman's. And it is a corporate salesperson that is specifically assigned to 5 accounts, or no more than 5 accounts. And they specifically go out after business for the franchisee for those 5 accounts. And that's going to be for those 5, or for those large value territories like LA or New York. So it would be a little bit different. And yes, you do have constant, they work, Carrie, again, another good question there, does it work in constant communication with that sales rep? Yes, they work hand in hand with you on a consistent basis to try and generate as much volume and as much business for your territory as possible. So, but again, it's for those territories that are going to run a little bit more. And it's the work that they do is specifically for for your territory to bring in revenue and business to your territory. So moving on to the last topic that we have is the cost savings benefit of what we offer compared to other advertisements. And I touched on this earlier as far as exclusivity and the amounts that we charge versus what other advertisers charge and what you get out of it. And basically by advertising with us for a very comparable fee, you know, you're talking about 50, 100, 150. You go to the yellow pages and I challenge you to look and see exactly what kind of results you're getting from your yellow page ads. What kind of traffic is actually getting driven to your office and how much of that traffic is actually turning into work. So for a very comparable fee, you get exclusivity that the yellow pages or other advertisers aren't giving you. You're the only guy or gal in the office that is getting the referrals for work in that area through our system and the work that we generate for you, the revenue and the work and the jobs. We're the only ones that do that for you. We're the only company that, or advertiser, if you want to look at this respect, that is generating work in your area for you and you alone. So for a very comparable fee, if let's say you're working with, and I'm going to throw out NAPS or some other state organization as an example, you're only ever going to get, and I've been with them for many, many years, many state organizations for many, many years, and at most, I've ever received probably 5 or 10 jobs a month from each of those organizations. And for a very comparable fee, we have dedicated salespeople that are after business on your behalf. And the idea is that we have a vested interest in your success. So when we hire sales reps, those people are working for your benefit. They are trying to bring in revenue. They're trying to drive work and clients to your door because we have a vested financial interest in your success. The more money and revenue that you generate, the more what we make at the corporate office on those royalty fees. From that, we turn that into more marketing, more advertising, more fully developed sales department, more fully developed marketing department, that then turns that into more and more revenue for you. So it becomes a cyclical win-win situation where it benefits everybody. And so that is not something that you can get by spending $100 a month with the yellow pages or a state advertising company or things of that nature. It's only going to be something that you get with a system like ours, a branded system where you can go anywhere in the U.S. and somebody's going to know your name. Somebody's going to know the Pente name. And we are the only ones that I'm aware of that is currently doing that. So when we talk about investment and how much you're actually going to be spending on something like this, one of our franchises, you know, you're spending $100, $150 a month with Yellow Pages, some state ad, you know, the state organization or paralegal association, whatever. You're only going to get so much work from that organization. In time, we plan to generate a whole lot more that will turn that territory that you bought for $1 into something that's worth $10, $15, $100,000, hopefully, hopefully more. You know, so the investment potential and the return on your money, advertising and spending the same amount of money with us, is a lot greater than it is if you just send it down the road to the Yellow Pages. You're only going to get so much out of something along your advertisements with those. So you know, the investment return it's a much greater opportunity with us. I think I covered pretty much everything we wanted to cover today. I might have run over a little bit, but I want to leave the last 10 minutes or so for anybody to submit some questions that they might have had for anything that we might not have covered. Hopefully there aren't too many. While we're waiting for some questions here, I'm going to go ahead and do a little screen share with everybody to show you what exactly it is you're looking at getting when you become part of our system. As far as the website and the software system that you're going to receive when you become part of our system, this is the corporate site that hopefully you can see now on your screen. And if I just go to available locations and click on that, it can kind of take you through the process here of how we get to how we get to territories. And if we go to Florida, let's go there real quick. And then we'll drop down to Naples. Naples has been with us for quite some time now from the beginning. And you can kind of see, pulls up that location, and you can see the map and just a general brief informational section. But then if you click on microsite, you go to that location's actual website. And we can customize these to however you want them to look. You've again got the map, and if you click on the little blue dot here, it pulls up their contact information. You got the contact information here. Click on services, and this is what they offer. And you know, click on contact page. You've got the form submission there, so that if somebody has any questions, then you know they want to reach you there, you can use the form submission so that your email address just isn't hanging out there for spammers to get a hold of. It's a little bit more secure than just putting your email address on a website. An email address is kind of important because as someone that sends work out on a regular basis, if I have a choice between a Gmail account and somebody that's got a company extension, I will go with the company extension every time. I think it gives clients that, and I think clients do too, and I think it gives them that little extra bit of confidence that they're going to be going with somebody reputable that can handle their actual work. The software that we offer is the Serve Manager software, and this is under the Executive and Executive Plus package, and it's a pretty dynamic system. We started using it a few months ago, and so far it's worked out real well for us. I'm logging into it now so you can kind of see just real briefly what it kind of looks at like. You got your job number, client, server, all that kind of stuff, and you can filter it by a couple of different ways. And you know, you've got your accounting and your different companies and court cases and just a whole host of different things. So pretty dynamic system. I don't want to go into that too much there because it does have our internal information, but real briefly, kind of what you can expect with the Serve Manager software. So not sure. I'm looking for some other questions here, and it looks like we're doing pretty good here. So yeah, I think you know, next month we're going to have another webinar, and I think what we're going to do is touch base a little bit more on the different packages and the pros and cons of each of those packages, and the benefits, and how it will fit, how each one of them might fit into your current position and things of that nature. So and your future goals too. And let me just throw something out there real quick as far as the packages, Carrie. The packages are interchangeable. So just because you buy Chicago under the Executive Plus package doesn't mean you can't buy another territory like LA or let's say Atlanta. You can buy Atlanta under the Manager's package and Chicago under the Executive Plus package. You can even own more than one territory. You can own as many territories as you can, and we actually look for that because we want to deal with one person versus you know, 50 people in one particular state. There might be some limitations on that, but you know, it just depends on the individual and the situation. So, and as far as the territories go, I had a gentleman ask me that pre-submitted question. Territories, the size of those territories depend on where the territory is located. I'm going to keep going back to LA because it's such a high volume territory and the population is so large there that you're going to be a little bit restricted to the city limits of Los Angeles. But if you get out to Garden City, Kansas, for example, Garden City is a very small town. You're talking 10,000 people or less. In order to generate enough volume to make it cost effective to open an office out there, we have to assign a little bit larger of a territory. So when we do that, your Garden City territory is going to encompass several counties that you're able and willing to cover. Now, we work very close with our franchisees to determine what size of territory, how many territories, etc., that they're going to own. And we currently have several franchise owners that own more than one territory. One person owns the entire state of Florida. Another gentleman purchased the entire state of South Dakota the other day. We have it scheduled for somebody to buy the entire state of Indiana on Tuesday, with the 2nd. I think that's Tuesday, Wednesday. So you can own a number of different territories under a number of different packages. So yeah, I mean, lots of different options, lots of different things you can do with that, and it's just really about contacting the corporate office and discussing potential options. So again, we're going to have another webinar next month, and we're going to briefly go over the different packages and the pros and cons and benefits of each of those, and get into that a little bit more detail. But until then, you are more than welcome to submit any questions. Give us a call. Phone number 855-407-3683 is the 800 number. Rings direct to my line. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email address is through the corporate website there, the form submission. Look forward to talking to people further, and having the next webinar next month. We'll post it again, and feel free to register and submit questions in advance. But I think we've got everything covered, so we will talk to everybody next month. Have a great afternoon.